Welcome to Village Church Connections. I'm David Pavey. Some time ago, Josh Ferrin was unwell. Josh was suffering from pneumonia. He'd taken time off from his job as an artist at the Desert News in Salt Lake City. The family of four was in transition, as they had just closed on their first house. Taking advantage of being off work, therefore, Josh decided to pick up the keys and explore their future home on his own. Eventually, he reached the garage, where he noticed something odd. A scrap of carpet hanging from the ceiling, which drew his attention to a small, movable panel above his head. Joshua found a ladder, moved it up to the ceiling panel, climbed up into the attic. And to his surprise, there he discovered 8 World War II-era ammunition boxes. He carefully pried one open, dreading to see a grenade. Instead, what he saw blew his mind. Wads of bills held together by string and wire. He started counting, and he kept on counting. And he found he had hidden treasure in the amount of $45,000. Finders keepers, he thought. He could use this cash to remodel the new house, repair their car, etc., etc. But he only thought it for a moment. Josh called his wife Tara right away. And her first response brought him down to earth in a hurry. She told him to call the family who previously owned the house and give them the money. Let me ask you, what would you have done in a situation like that? Well, Josh didn't hesitate. I immediately knew that she was right, Josh said. As much as I wanted to keep it, I couldn't keep it. That just wouldn't be right. The long-term owner of the house was a certain Arnold Bangerter, formerly a biologist with the Utah Fish and Wildlife Department and a father of 6. It turned out Bangerter had squirreled away money for a long time, some of those bills dating back 40 years. After he died, his children inherited the house and had just sold it to the Joe Ferrin family. Some people told Josh he should just keep the money, that he had a legal right to it, because he found it in his own home. But Josh argued that while it might be legal, it certainly wouldn't be moral to keep the treasure. How could he claim money intended for someone else? How could our family start, he asked. How could our family start life in a new home by doing something that was wrong? What sealed Josh's decision to return the money, however, wasn't just ethics. It was fatherhood, too. Joe Ferrin thought about the devotion Bangerter had had for his children, and he sensed a kindred spirit. I imagined this guy for years and years collecting money and putting it away. I appreciate the need to think for the future and to take care of loved ones. I can understand him as a father. Josh said he too is trying to leave something for his children as they grow up. I've got 2 boys, he said, and we teach them to be honest and to do what is right. And I knew this was a teachable moment that I would never get back again. We would do something courageously honest with it, something awesome.
It is a great opportunity for me to take my children and say to them, we are going to do something awesome.
Josh contacted Bangerter's offspring, and with his family beside him to witness the big event, he returned the money. Now, there are a couple of lessons to glean from this story. One of them is that husbands do well to listen to their wives. But I'd better not dwell on that one. On a more serious note, the story led me to 2 verses from the Proverbs of Solomon in the Old Testament of the Bible. One reads like this: "Good people leave an inheritance to their grandchildren." Proverbs 13:22. Arnold Bangerter had stashed away money to benefit his children and probably his grandchildren too. His example was a reminder to Josh Ferrin that he needed to do the same. Strangely enough, empirical observation suggests that if we give God at least 10% first, we become better stewards of the 90% that we have left, which increases the likelihood that we will have some to pass on to the next generation. And while some of us may have very little in the way of dollars to leave to our progeny, at the very least we can leave the legacy of a good example and respect for the Almighty. Good people leave an inheritance. The other verse states, "The godly walk with integrity. Blessed are their children who follow them." Proverbs 20, verse 7. Joe Ferrin turned this event into a teachable moment, demonstrating to his young sons the importance of honesty. The godly walk with integrity and can hold their heads high as they benefit from a clear conscience. Honesty is indeed the best policy. God honors those who honor him by doing what is right. The Bible says, "Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old he will not depart from it." This may not be an ironclad rule, but it is certainly a general principle. Yes, the godly walk with integrity. Thomas Jefferson was right on target when he wrote, "Honesty is the first chapter of the Book of Wisdom." And thank you for tuning in to Village Church Connections.